you. Good job.
Thanks.
I do not brush my hair much these days.
Nor do I, but you gave me a nice excuse to do it.
But you know what? I can't, I found myself last weekend sitting around with like a 3 or 4 day shadow. And I was like, man, the terrorists win if we don't groom ourselves during this time.
Right? I know. I've been like, I work out, I go for a run. I'm like, do I really need to wash my hair? I can wait till tomorrow. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not one. If I run, I am a disgusting, sweaty mess, especially here in the humidity. So is this, where are you out of again?
Louisiana, out of
oh, that's
New
right.
Orleans. So we've got the humidity too. But here's the crazy thing is, I like hardly sweat, like barely. Oh my gosh, my kids.
You keep disappearing on me.
I know. My kids are doing this like Messenger Kids thing on Facebook with their friends. And they're like, they'll try and call once. And like, that's not good enough. If I don't answer, they call like 10 times in a row.
Right.
Like, I don't understand. Why aren't you answering?
It took us a while to train our daughter because she will text and then just call. So I have to like go on Do Not Disturb because she has to understand that not all answers are available right now.
That's a really smart idea. How old is she?
She's about to turn 13 and she's gotten considerably better. When she was like 10 or 11, if I'll be like, okay, I'm going to like go for a run for like just 20 minutes even. Like now we can leave them for like an hour because she's got 2 younger brothers. How old are your kids?
They are 3 and 6.
Oh,
I think. So wait, can I put this on Do Not Disturb and then I won't get those?
Totally, bro.
No, I'm telling you, I'm already on Do Not Disturb. I'm still like notification. I am the worst with technology. Let me tell you.
All right. Well, you could just, for future reference, you can do this on your laptop as well, and then your phone doesn't have to.
That would be a good idea, except for I do not have a laptop.
Okay.
I know. I can't. I have like a big giant Apple TV, Apple computer, right, in my kids' playroom, and I never use it. And I had the last laptop I bought, I ended up like storing so much stuff on it, like pictures and whatever. And then I was just like, I don't even use this thing. I only use my phone. So.
Well, I usually like to go in chronological order, but let's go right to now. We'll back up later. What is your day-to-day like these days? Like, what are you up to?
Like in coronavirus quarantine?
Up until a month ago, prior to coronavirus quarantine.
Right. So, first and foremost, I'm a mom, right? So I've got my 6 and my 3-year-old, and that is a lot. That takes up most of my time. As you know, you've got kids. And then I, on weekends, try and get out and race. And then I'm a stunt woman as well. So I work in New Orleans and I beat myself up for a living, and I've done that for many, many years. So.
Did you do any work on Treme?
I actually did. I was an actress on that show.
Oh, really? Which episode?
I was in season 3. I think I was in like 6 or 7 episodes.
Hang on. I should have looked this up about you. So what I'll do is when I interview people, I do not want to know everything about you, right?
I like that.
Like with you, you've done obstacle racing, you're a professional wrestler, and I'm like, awesome, that's enough for me to want to talk to you for this show. And then let's look a little, okay, quick Wikipedia, blah, blah, blah. But I was a huge fan of that show. So now hang on a second. What was your storyline, bro?
Okay, so do you know the character, I forgot what his name was. John Seda. Do you remember him?
Who?
John Seda. That's the actor's name. I'm trying to think of who he played. He was this like swindler type that came in, I think, from Houston.
Were you one of his girlfriends?
I was, his like gold digging girlfriend in all of season 3. So there was like.
Wait a minute. So this is what I remember. So first of all, Treme is one of those shows. Did you watch the whole arc? No, she did not. Even though it's about your gym and your hood, you didn't want to watch it?
I didn't. I mean, I lived it, right? So like
Hey man, I lived it, bro. That's like saying
I've never done that, bro.
Listen, so that show done super well. I gotta say though, I'm not somebody that ever gets like whenever shows have a finale, there's always everybody hates it and people yell. I actually did hate Trey's finale. I thought it was a really bad
It
one.
wasn't supposed to be like that though.
What was supposed to happen?
Well, I don't know what was supposed to happen, but so we were supposed to continue on, and my character ended up not moving on to the fourth season because they cut it down to I think like 5 episodes just to hurry up and wrap it up because they were done with it. I think HBO had just like pulled the plug on it.
All right, so this is what I remember about that character, and I'm sorry for not remembering more of your stuff, but so he was
it's okay.
like,
I mean,
he was
naked in the show, so that's usually like a memory.
Well, now everyone's Googling like crazy. You just people's cars just fucking wrecked.
It was like oh gosh, it's a website that like rates people versus like for their nudity. Mr. Skin.
He's the original, yes.
I got best butt from it.
All right, well, let's back up. We're all over the place, Taryn. So that show, what I remember, he was kind of a ladies' man, right?
Yeah.
Like he was he hooked up with like the girl on the float. That was, I think, a black girl. So that wasn't you, right?
No.
So what?
No, he took me on for quite a few episodes.
Okay. And then were you just, I'm going to Google you now because this is killing me. So Taryn, Terrell, I can't believe you were on. I should have, and you're from New Orleans, so I should have thought so. Everybody loved, what's his name? What's his name? What's that?
Steve Zahn.
Well, Steve Zahn and the guy who played Bunk, right? Like everybody loves those guys. Look at you. How do you not know anything?
I don't know. It's really bad. At that time, I don't even know what I was doing. At that time, I was wrestling, and so I was on the road.
Then how did you have time to even audition, and why would mean old Vince even let you? Oh, no, you weren't working for Vince then.
I wasn't with Vince. No, I was with TNA Impact Wrestling. So I think we were filming like 4 episodes in like 1 weekend or 1 week, right? So we'd film like 5 episodes in 1 week. So then I had like 3 or 4 weeks off.
Okay.
So I was able to kind of juggle both.
Okay. So when you were a young gal, now we'll back up. You grew up where?
New Orleans, well, right outside of New Orleans.
Okay. And you grew up, what did young Taryn, is Taryn, is that your actual name? Do I call you that?
Yeah, it's my actual name. Born and raised on the birth certificate.
So you wrestled under your actual name?
I did. Yeah, when I was in WWE though, I went under Tiffany, which I hated with a passion, but they were like, it sounds like a girl next door type of name. And I was like, whatever. Wasn't up to me.
But all right, so you grew up in New Orleans and you wanted to do what when you were a young person?
I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Totally normal answer.
Right. So that was like kind of what I wanted to do. And then once I got to high school, I was a cheerleader and I was a power lifter. And I think I always liked performing and I liked being competitive. So I kind of, I had no idea what I wanted to do at that point. Like I knew I wanted to do something that was like not sit in an office all day. But my mom she was a PhD and she's like, you go to college and that's just what you do. So I went to UNO, I started getting my marketing degree and, I auditioned for Playboy. And within like 2 weeks, I get a call that I had like gotten a cover for College Girls magazine. And I was like, yep, see you later, college, I'm done. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go this way. And I just kind of always like lived that life where it was like, I'm just going to kind of see where life takes me and I'm just going to go with the flow. And so then I partied my butt off in Vegas and LA for a couple of years. And my mom was very sad about that.
That you were in Playboy or just that you didn't finish school? I
didn't finish school, but I did go back. After I left WWE, I went back and finished school just because I had like 2 semesters left or something. So I did finish.
Okay. I don't know that that's that important. So, did you grow up watching wrestling?
I didn't. So it wasn't even, I was introduced to it because I had a friend who, when I was doing Playboy, he would do these like Playboy fashion shows, and he was a gigantic wrestling fan. So he asked me if I wanted to go to a show with him. So we went on a road trip. He flew to New Orleans. We went on a road trip to like Memphis and Nashville. We went to a pay-per-view and we sat front row. And I was just like this the whole time. I was like, oh my God, that's what I need to do this. Like, I've got to do this. This is amazing. Because like once you're a performer, right? So I cheered in college too. And so like, once you're a performer and then that's over, like if you're a college athlete or high school athlete and then that just ends, you're sort of like, well, shit. Like, what do I do now? Like, what do I get to do that's fun now? I have to just work and not do anything fun. This is lame. So when I saw that, I was like, you're kidding me. Like, I can make a living off of doing this. This is great. So I was doing an appearance for Playboy in Vegas, and they were having a casting call. WWE was having a casting call. And I had partied and I was like up all night. I went to the casting call. I didn't even have a voice. So I was just like wild and crazy and just did it without a voice. But I ended up getting, they did like a diva search thing back in the day.
Right.
So they flew us out to Huntington Beach, California, and we did this whole reality type show, and I ended up getting 4th place.
And so who came out of that, or who won that people might know?
Eve Torres was who won that. She was there for quite some time. She does some really cool stuff now. Like her husband is at Gracie. So they do like all this like jujitsu stuff, and
right.
But she does like a bunch of like women's self-defense stuff, which is really cool.
So in terms of wrestling, I'm older than you. So I grew up in that amazing 80s era, the birth of the WWE, right? So I watched all that stuff, right? Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, and like Ric Flair was even like, I think he was like on Georgia Championship Wrestling even before WWE. So I was 10, 12 years old and loved it like everybody loves it. And then honestly, completely fell away. Like all those like years that all these people talk about now, like all of the 90s and 2000s, I was just like, whatever. Like I knew like The Rock existed, and I knew like Cena existed.
Steve Austin?
Yeah, Steve Austin and Sting. Like I knew those things existed, but I wasn't a part of it.
Right.
And then because of Spartan racing, I met Charles Robinson. You know who he is?
Yeah.
Okay,
Very
of course.
Well,
of course.
I mean, I did know him very well when we
Okay.
both worked. I mean,
so we meet through obstacle racing, and he's like, well, you know, next time we're in town, like come to a show. And we started watching like, you know, Monday and Tuesday nights, but we still like, maybe we only watched 1 or 2 weeks before, and then we went. And this is like how I explained to people, like I brought my son, who was maybe he was 9 at the time, and he doesn't know any of these characters. Perfect age. But here's the beauty is that within 5 minutes, he was cheering the good guys and he knew to boo the bad guys, because that's the great story that's being told, right?
Yeah.
Like within seconds, he was into it, man. And then so was I, right? And I was
especially
like,
when you're there, like when you're there, it's an entire different experience.
well, so this is the thing that I've explained to people. So it's amazing and the spectacle and all of it, but here's where my real love for like, and just sort of overall respect I have, even though I still don't watch that often, is a month later, they did one of those, you know, what you guys call house shows, non-televised show, like down in Macon. And we got to go backstage and meet everybody, right? And every single wrestler, minus Cena, took a minute or two to really look my son in the eyes and talk to him. And you know what I mean? Like every single one of them, right? These larger than life people. Cena was kind of like in and out, but whatever. Maybe he's having a bad.
So busy. I mean,
no, but maybe he's having a bad day. But I'm just saying that everybody took that time.
Yeah.
And then you see these people and like they're so larger than life, and then you meet them backstage and they're great. But then when the lights went on, they were larger than life again, right?
Yeah.
Because they know how to turn it on. And then I watched a show in the front row and was like, just blown away.
It's amazing.
I mean? Oh, I just, anybody, if you get a chance to go, you know, and like, it was awesome.
Fan or not, you have to. It's just to experience it, to sit there and you're just like, I mean, you can't help but just get completely wrapped up in the story. And I was just having that conversation with my husband is, because he never watched wrestling. And so I'm like, it's not just like moves. It's not just technical. I'm like, it's a story. Like you're out there to tell a story. And we were talking about it because a lot of they're doing these empty arena matches and WrestleMania is this coming weekend and there's not a crowd. And when I wrestled in Tokyo, they're quiet. Like there's lots and lots of people there, but they're super quiet. And then at the end of the match, they clap. So it was a much like very different experience because you're like, you feed off of the energy from the crowd and then like they're not giving you that energy. And so you sort of have to figure out, well, shoot, okay, well, we got to just keep on going and hopefully they're liking it. We don't know. Yeah, it's been crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And again, that's why I was so impressed because it wasn't a full house and the job of putting it on and without the, you know what I mean, it is a lot harder. And, the show was so small even that like my son Jackson, he would like yell and like a couple of the women like turn back and like snarled at him and like that gives a kid an amazing.
That's what's fun,
right?
About house shows because you get to be really interactive. You're not on TV. So you're not like when you're on TV, you're working towards a hard cam. So you're constantly, all of your moves have to be towards that camera. You want your face in the cameras, right? So when you're at a house show, you're not working towards one camera. You actually get to interact with people. You get to do a move, see how the crowd's responding to it. You get to practice for the stuff that you're going to do on TV. And then they run different storylines too, where they'll sometimes use the storylines at house shows and like have a title change at a house show, which is really cool. And, because usually they only do that on TV because it's a special moment, but they do some really cool stuff like that. So yeah, house shows are really fun.
Okay. So you go on this TV show and was okay, I'm all in now. Like I found what I want to do. Like I'm going to be a professional wrestler.
Yes, immediately. So I was like, I mean, from what I saw it, and I watched a match, it was Candice Michelle and Beth Phoenix, I believe. And they were like, just these incredible women, and watching them specifically, I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I was groomed for. I was made for this. It is time. Let's go. But after I got 4th place in the Diva Search, I literally had to beg the company to give me a tryout. So like, it took like a couple of months, I think maybe 2 months before I was able to get sent to OVW, which was in Louisville, Kentucky. And they made me take, I think we did over 100 bumps, which is like hitting the ground on your back, so I think I did over 100, maybe 150. And I went back to my hotel room that day and I had the worst migraine like that I've ever had in my life. And I was just like, fuck. Okay, I can do this. And I went back the next day and I did it again and I did it again. And luckily by the end of that week, I secured myself a job. So.
And what was your how does that work, an entry level sort of job?
So you get a contract, like it's called a developmental contract.
Because NXT wasn't around yet, or was it?
No, it wasn't. So we were FCW, which is pretty cool because I think on the WWE network, they just released a documentary on FCW,
right.
Florida Championship Wrestling. We were down in Tampa. And so I got sent down there and you train. You train every single day. And you have, I think Tuesday nights, we had matches in bars. It was so funny. And then like Saturdays, we would have matches at like the Jewish Community Center or just like the Boys and Girls Club or a flea market or just like these like random places. And you'd put up the ring, everybody goes, everybody pitches in, you build the ring, and then you put on a show. And it was like the most incredible learning experience because I mean, you're performing for not that many people, maybe 50 if you're lucky, so it was just fun. And so you trained there, and then Wednesdays was promo day. So we had Dusty Rhodes. If you know Dusty, I feel like everybody in the world.
America Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up watching.
Oh my God, he was the best. He was the best. So he would make us do these promos. So we'd have to do like a 60-second. If you're familiar with wrestling, you know what a wrestling promo is. It's like, I mean, in the old days, it's like, we're going to be at the Jewish Community Center. 7 p.m. Make sure you're there. I'm facing off with
at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. So those are the old days, right? But then it was, he would teach us how to speak and how to sort of the new age promo, which is more of just conversational. And we would have to tell a story within 60 seconds. And we knew that like our hard cam, like our out would be like 3, 2, 1, and you better have it wrapped up, whatever you were saying, by 1, because that camera's off. So we would work with him. So it was just like this really intense training, where we would do practice matches, promos, the whole thing. And so then you're just there. You're just down there practicing day in, day out. And then you just wait for your call to get called up to the main stage.
And you always used your real name?
I used my real name for everything except for Tiffany at WWE.
So, but I'm saying, so when you started this FCW thing, that was your...
Taryn, yeah.
They didn't, I mean...
It's not until it goes on TV where WWE would own the rights to the name that you change it. And I think,
I just think from a personal security standpoint, that's what I'm thinking about.
Everybody can find out anything anyway.
Well, nowadays, sure, but it's certainly a lot easier.
I remember Hulk Hogan, when I went over to TNA Impact Wrestling and I was debuting there, he was like, you sure you just want to go with your name? You don't want to be like Taryn, the something, the terrible, the da-da-da. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you, though. Which is kind of hard to turn down advice from Hulk Hogan.
Right.
But
and so... now, everybody gets amazing songs and amazing graphics. Did you get to like pick your song back then?
Yes. So I don't like it now looking back, but I was like a huge Britney Spears fan. So like at WWE, I got to tell them like what music I liked, because it's important. Like when you're going out, right? Whatever you're doing, UFC, WWE, whatever your entrance song is, like that is getting you pumped up to go. Most of those moves, if you went and did it just right now without any adrenaline, it would suck, right? Like it hurts. So if you're getting pumped up and your music and you're the whole thing, right? Then you can go out there and it doesn't hurt for like an hour afterwards. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. The next day you may not be able to walk, but in those moments and right after, you're totally fine. And
so you were in these other organizations. And is that just like, I don't know, who wants you at the time, or how does that all, how did you sort of navigate those? Honestly,
I had to fight for every job that I've ever had.
Really?
Yes. Nobody has ever said, oh yeah, we just want you. Like, we're just going to offer you this. Like I went out and fought for every job I've ever had. Begged. Literally. Please just give me a chance. Give me a chance.
So then why would one leave one to go to another? Just better pay, or?
Some people, yeah, better pay, different opportunities. Some people are like not getting the storylines that they want, or they're not getting input on creative. So sometimes it's just that opportunity.
It seems like it's very different now. With this All Elite Wrestling thing that popped up, and there's just all these, like, again, when I was growing up, if you weren't in the WWE, you were nothing. You were in some tiny regional thing. But now there seems to be, like, I've seen these people that I just saw on the big stage on WrestleMania, and it's like, oh, now they got a new name and they're over on AEW. Yeah, totally. Well, like Matt Hardy, I think, is over at AEW now. And obviously Cody Rhodes is who started it from what I understand. It was just Dusty's son. I think it's amazing, honestly, because WWE has been such a monopoly. It's really hard there's so many amazing, talented people, so many talented wrestlers. And there's only so much time on one TV show. So it's amazing that now people have other options. Like, I'm going to go work at AEW or Impact Wrestling or ROH, or ROH. Like, there's a lot of promotions that are now really getting the publicity they deserve. NWA, which Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana,
took that over and they're rebooting that. So, well, they've already rebooted it. So it's really cool. It's more work, more opportunities, never a bad thing.
So yeah, maybe you can help me talk to those two, because I actually reached out on Instagram to Billy, and he actually wrote me back and said, talk to Dave. And so then it was, this was right before all the shit hit the fan. He's like, hey, we're working towards our next big show. We'll let you know, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, now everybody's doing it on Zoom. So maybe I can, I mean, again, if you're my age, Billy Corgan is kind of massive. If you're my age.
He's like a really big deal.
but if you look at it, but if you didn't know, if you just went to his William Corgan Instagram and he's got a couple thousand followers and it's all pretty much wrestling content, you'd have no idea who this guy was. Right.
It's true. He's really cool. Like he worked with us. He ran Impact Wrestling while I was there. So I got to work with him, and he's just a very brilliant mind. That it's really cool that he also has a passion for wrestling, because any type of and the funny thing is that I actually met Billy long before they had ever done Impact. I mean, this was like back in 2008 probably, and he's always been a huge fan.
When did you stop wrestling?
So my last match was definitely after I had my second baby. So it's been within the last 3 years.
Right.
God, I don't know. I had him in 2016, probably 2017 must have been.
Did they bring you back for that first Royal Rumble?
At WWE?
Yeah.
No.
Did you want to?
Of course. I'm telling you, I've never had, like, I've had to beg for everything. So they do like to bring out older people like all the time, and you're still not that old. I didn't have enough, like at WWE, most of my time there, I played assistant general manager and the general manager of ECW. Right. So most of my time spent there wasn't even wrestling. It was just playing character.
So does that mean that, like, well, she can talk, but we don't like her wrestling chops, so we'll let her do that? Is that what that means?
I hope not. Although I will say I certainly improved as I went along. I mean, when I got called up to the road, I had only been in training for like 2 months. And mind you, that is insane, because most people were there for so much longer. I mean, I like, looking back, I was so excited, but I wish I would have been able to stay just 100% developmental training for a year rather than 2 months, because it's just the amount that you learned there just is unbelievable. But, you know, I wouldn't change the way my life turned out, so it's fine.
But you never know. As I said, they do like to bring out, I mean, honestly, I think that's actually one of their kind of downfalls, right? Is like, you know, Goldberg's like, you know, over 50, you know what I mean? Undertaker is like over 50. It's like, I don't want to see these guys anymore. You know what I mean? But I think
I still do though.
No, man.
I think sometimes, man, Undertaker's music, like that sound.
No, listen.
Whoa!
No, I know, but like, you know, when he laid his hat down, man, that was supposed to have meant something, right?
Right. Yes, I get that. Well, here's the thing. I can't speak for every wrestler, but I will say personally, and certainly a lot of people I've had this conversation with, is once you've done it, it's in your blood. Like, there is nothing else in the world that will give you a feeling like it does when you walk out on that entrance ramp, when you wrestle in a match. There is nothing in the world that feels like that. It is like a drug. So to say that you're done forever, I would be impressed for anyone to actually be able to say that and really truly be done, because it is so addicting. It is the most amazing feeling and you can walk away from it. I mean, I sit here, I haven't had a match in a couple of years. I would kill for a match right now. I love it that much.
Right. But so then why don't you reach out to one of these other leagues or brands?
Well, I will say there's a couple of things. Like, one, I can't say that I haven't. Two, honestly, my schedule with stunts, right? So working in film, financially, it's a much better gig because it's just financially a better
they actually
deal.
Like pay your insurance and stuff.
Yeah. So I get insurance, I get retirement, whatever. So you get residuals. So, I mean, financially, it's just I'm beating myself up a little less
right.
for a lot more money. So it's hard for me, especially like, it's hard for me to say I would really be able to go 100% in that in wrestling, because I don't want to give up stunt work, and I don't want to be away from my kids. I don't want to be on the road. I don't like, that's not the life I want to live, you know? So to be able to go back and do like an Impact, I know they were going to do, which is not happening now. They were going to do like we were called knockouts. So they were going to do like a knockouts of the past type match. And I definitely was hoping and letting them know my interest in doing that. But obviously it never came to fruition because we're in quarantine.
Well, how did you roll right into stunts? Like, it's not, I mean, clearly you've got skills to do it, but that doesn't mean that every former wrestler is able to do that.
I don't know. I think most wrestlers probably could. I mean, I think at the end of the day, where you learn body awareness through wrestling. So,
oh, but I'm saying, but you've got to learn how to audition. You got to learn how to still like show up to work on time. Like, it doesn't necessarily, you know, people want to work with you, which is different in a different environment. I don't know. I just feel like it's not necessarily right.
There are differences. So I think like, as far as like, there's an ego part that would definitely have to be put down. Because when you're a wrestler, you're the star, right? When you're a stunt person, you're not the star. I mean, you're doubling an actress or an actor, or you're playing a bit part where, you know, maybe it's a small acting part. I mean, certainly some people have been able to turn their stunt careers into a bigger thing, but you're still almost, it's like you kind of tote the line of being crew and cast. Like, you're still on camera, but you're bringing your own pads in. You're like hauling your own gear in. You're doing the grunt work too. So it's, you know, you certainly could not come in and, you know, you would definitely have to check your ego at the door for that. Like, you know, they don't care about what your makeup looks like most of the time. Like, yeah, you're fine, right? Like, whereas like wrestling, they're like full glam and the whole thing. So that's certainly different. But for me, like, I learned body awareness. I was trained by Tom Pritchard and Steve Kern down in Florida Championship Wrestling. And I mean, the skills that I learned from them, and just how to move my body, how to fall without killing myself, all of those sort of things, they all transitioned nicely into stunt work. So I ended up starting because I'm not the type of person, like, in between matches at WWE, I would sit in the production room. It was like my favorite place. And that was, we had a stunt coordinator, like an on-staff stunt coordinator. So I would sit there and just like pick his brain about stunts. So I was like definitely interested in it. And I was like, well, you gotta, like, I need help me. Like, how do I get into this? And he was like, well, you're here. Vince would kill me. I can't give you like that information while you have a job here. So as soon as I didn't have a job there anymore, I called him and I'm like, hey, so who can I get in contact with? And like, I've had people ask me all the time, like a lot of wrestlers and just different people. And they're like, well, how do I get into stunts? How do I do this? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I can tell you my path. I can certainly give you information, but it's up to you what you do with it. Right. So a lot of people like kind of just want the door open and they want to walk right through and get the job. It took me 2.5 years before I ever got my first stunt job, like of hustling, of making relationships, training, doing whatever I could to get out there. I knew I had to get my SAG card, so I started that. I got it through acting. I couldn't get anyone to just give it to me through stunts. So, I mean, I went to auditions, took acting classes. I mean, just did whatever I could.
Yeah, I think that's the part that a lot of people don't understand. They just assume like, well, if she was on the biggest stage in the world, then doors just wide open.
Yeah, it's not. It never is. It never is. I mean, you have to want it. You have to want it bad enough that when the doors slam, that you just keep trying. You just keep trying. You like never let go of it until it happens. And then even when it happens, you can't just be like, okay, got one job. It's all going to be there. It's not. You have to work for each job.
What do you think in that sort of decade of ups and downs? Like, what do you think your lowest point was? Like thinking about quitting and all that other stuff?
My lowest point for sure was when I lost my job at WWE. like 100% sucked. I kind of like, you know, everything, like I said, from doing Playboy and then getting that and I stopped going to college, the whole thing, it was just like, holy fuck, what now? Right. I think I'm 25, 26, somewhere in there. And I'm just like, what do I do now with my life? I had no idea. I was in a bad relationship and that ended around the same time, which is primarily why I lost my job with WWE. So it was
because it was another wrestling person.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. So that went bad. So
Sorry.
job went bad. Relationship went bad. And it was just like in this like point in time where I'm like, what the fuck? And like, and everybody, my parents, like my, you know, like now I'm like, oh my God, now I've got to tell them, yep, okay, you were right. Join the circus. And now I don't even have my college degree and I'm screwed. So, but that's how, you know, I definitely like, I'm sort of the person that I will fall, but I'll just be like, okay, this sucks for a few days. And then I'm like, okay, moving forward. So then that's why I went back to college and finished my degree and immediately started calling to figure out how to get into stunts, trying to get on with Impact Wrestling, and just worked until I got it.
When you're doing acting work, right? When you're doing Treme, and
Mm-hmm.
they say like, hey, like here's the sides, and that you go, oh, here's like a complete nude scene. Like it's one thing like to do Playboy to be photographed, right? Yes,
Yeah.
There's several people in the room still, and there's set people and makeup and, you know, lighting, but like, hey, you have to actually act with another person. I can't assume that's easy, or do you just like, how does one handle that?
Honestly, I've always been, it's so easy. There's a point where I think you're right. Like when you're doing pictures, like like for Playboy, right? You're naked all day. So it's just like, okay, whatever. Like you forget, you even like people are like, oh, here's your robe. And you're like, oh God, sorry, I totally forgot. I've always been really comfortable with nudity. So I do like with stunts, I'll do nudity with stunts too. And there's one job that I had to jump out of like a 4th or 5th story window, and we have a box catcher. So it's cardboard boxes that we jump into. Maybe it was 4th story, something like that. Either way, I'm topless with a jacket open and a pair of underwear. And this is my outfit. So afterwards, like you break down boxes, right? So like I'm standing there and I'm starting to break down boxes and after I did the thing. And they're like, can you go put some clothes on? And I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot. Like, that's how comfortable I am. Like, but everybody else is uncomfortable and I'm super comfortable. So it's funny watching other people be nervous about it because it's kind of been a part of it forever. So
you just have a gene that makes you not uncomfortable.
Yes, I guess so. I feel bad for that, I guess. I feel bad for making other people uncomfortable around me, but no, it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't do anything. It's like wearing clothes or not wearing clothes, the same thing.
When did you find Spartan Race?
So 2000, I don't know the date.
When did you do an obstacle race for the first time? You don't know.
No, I do. My husband and I we had just gotten together.
Current husband, not wrestling husband.
Correct. Let me tell you how cool my husband is. So let me just brag on him real quick. He's a stunt man. I'm sitting next to one of his motorcycles that he has a Guinness Book of World Record on for the world's longest burnout. He's got 2 Guinness Book of World Records. One has already been beat. He's like this motorcycle extraordinaire. Like, so cool. He's doubled John Wick for motorcycle stunts. He's such a badass. He's like the coolest person I've ever met in my life. So on that note, I was like looking through his Instagram, like when we first met on set. And I'm like looking through, you know, how you do, like, ooh, he's super cute. Like, let me see what he's up to. So I saw like pictures of him and it was from a Spartan race. And I was like, ooh, like I've kind of heard of those before. And I'm like, junior high, I had done Sea Scouts. Have you ever heard of that? It's like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Sea Scouts, right? But it's on the water. And we used to go to this National Guard place where they trained, and they had an obstacle course, right? Ropes, the whole thing, things you can jump over. So when I see these pictures, I kind of put two and two together. I'm like, oh man, that's just like the obstacle course that I did when I was a kid. That's so cool, right? And so anyway, so I made him do one with me. We did a first was a Tough Mudder. So it was like first thing, and I hated to run. Like I had never run before. And now here I am, like, I'm going 10 miles. Let's do this. And we finished it, and it was the most amazing feeling ever. And then that was sort of like where my addiction started.
And what year was that? When did you get married, or when did you meet your husband? If it's when you met your husband.
I know. I know it's. I gotta like do math.
I am too.
15.
I have to figure when it comes to figure out my kids' birthdays. I do the same way. I'm like, wait a minute, you're 8, so that's 2015. Your birthday's in May, right?
I mean, this entire month has been like a year. So.
No, this is a whole nother. This is a whole nother thing.
It's insane. So listen, so I did the Tough Mudder, right? Well, okay, so I had lung surgery when I was 20. I have what they call blood disease. So I've got like these air and fluid filled sacs all over my lungs. They would pop. I'd have to get chest tubes, like Pulp Fiction style, where they're like, we don't have time for morphine. Boom. And they like pop it, and ribs, and the air escapes, and it's this whole thing. So I'm like, I'm doing this like 10 mile, and I'm like, oh, my lungs, my fucking lungs. And so like, I pushed through it, man. I'm like, I can do anything. So like, once you get that feeling, right, of like, I can do anything, it's an addiction.
So you've traveled around, and you've done a bunch now, right?
I have, yes. So I like to, I think that's been my favorite part, is traveling and taking the weekend and explore the city where it's at and meet people out on the course. So I've totally embraced the entire experience, right? Like I'm not just doing the race, but like doing the weekends. Right.
Well, I mean, but I think that's what most people.
Right. Like it's more than just a race. It's like the entire thing, like the experience.
So how are you handling everything?
With this whole COVID thing?
Yeah.
So this is where I feel guilty. I'm enjoying my time with my family, right? So I'm like, my husband is usually so busy with work, and I get him like 100% of the time now. So it's just like me, him, the kids. Luckily, we've got a pool. I've got an amazing entire gym in the house. So I feel very guilty saying that, because I know not everybody has, everything that they need inside of their house. But I have been grateful. I'm grateful for the silver linings, I should say, and trying to stay focused on that. Now, that's not to say that 11 o'clock at night, my brain's like, oh my God, I'm going to die. This is terrible. I've got lung disease. I'm fucked. Da da da. So like,
you're probably fucked. You should stay in lockdown, bro.
I know, right? That's from like 11 to 1 that I'm like freaking out. And then I go to sleep and I wake up the next day and I'm like, life is great. I'm going to work out. I'm happy. Da, da, da. So, conflicting emotions.
What are you watching these days?
Tiger King.
Bro. Well, we were all watching Tiger King. What else are you watching?
Well now, so I've gone back. I've watched The Last Man on Earth. Have you seen this?
No.
Will Forte. It's about a virus that hits in 2020, but it's a comedy.
Right. So
that's really fun. So I'm like, I've already watched it. I'm going back watching that. And that's been it. I have been stuck on stupid Facebook and looking at all these freaking coronavirus.
Don't do it.
I know. That's what I'm telling you. My 11 to 1, I go down the fucking black hole, man.
Don't do it. I turn my phone off on a good night at like 7, but most nights about 9. I literally just put it in the other room, so I'm not even tempted to pick it up because like, oh, let me look up one more thing.
Well, see, I can't. Let me tell you why I can't do that. I'm gonna give you a good excuse. So my sister is an ICU nurse, and she works the night shift. So I forget. No, my sister has cystic fibrosis, so she's also like in one of those like compromised groups. But yet, this girl is taking care of patient after patient in the ICU. Her entire unit is a COVID unit. So I know that her lunch break is 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's why from like 11 to 1, I need to talk to her at 1 and make sure she's okay and she's feeling good. And that's like
all right. Well, when this is over, you can go back to a normal life. Because people always say like, well, what if it's an emergency in the middle of the night? I'm like, there isn't one. And if there is one, it'll wait till you wake up. But if this is your time to connect with family, you'll get a pass. No, I actually took Facebook off my phone, which I've gone back and forth on many times.
Yeah.
So you leave Messenger on there because obviously I'm talking to a lot of people that way. But now more than ever, I stay off the Facebook. If I want to, I can check in on my laptop, but even that I'm doing less and less. It's starting to invade Instagram some, which is like we knew would happen. It would eventually be as bad as Facebook, but so far it's still pretty safe. But yeah,
it's not all of these articles. Like it's just one quick little thing.
Right.
Facebook,
right.
You read the article,
right.
next article.
Did you watch Glow?
Did. It was amazing. So I will say I'm not on the latest season, but I did watch Glow. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah, it's really
great.
Good. Yeah.
Betty Gilpin, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. I actually got to work with her on The Hunt.
Yeah.
And I had to.
You should be doing stunts on that show.
Believe me, I've tried. I tried. I worked. So the wrestling coordinator, one of the stunt coordinators over there, fight coordinator, they would call him Chavo Guerrero, is like this incredible wrestler.
Legendary. Chavo, he's legendary.
He is legendary. So he's over there. I have definitely told him. I don't live in LA and it films in LA. So it's, I just haven't been able to have that opportunity. Shauna Duggins coordinates it, and I believe she doubles the lead on it as well, Betty.
Right.
But I also worked with a girl she plays the welfare queen character on Glow. Her and I, Kia, we worked together at Impact Wrestling. We wrestled together. So I feel kind of like connected to it. Like when I watch it, I'm just like, but it's really cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I actually know Mark. I don't want to brag, but I know Mark Maron from many years ago, and so I started watching just because I wanted to see how he did, and obviously because I like wrestling. But now I'm like totally into it.
Oh, it's so good! It's so great. Like, and then anything I think that brings wrestling to more people is such a cool thing, right? In whatever form or fashion that is. I mean, obviously, I personally love wrestling, so but it's in the real world, right? It still kind of feels like this cultish group, right? Like not everybody likes wrestling. Like I could go down my neighborhood and like I guarantee you if anybody watches wrestling, they haven't talked about it to me. Like not one person. Like who am I supposed to talk about this stuff with, man?
You should do more podcasts. There's a lot of wrestling podcasts.
I should, but do you see how hard it is to pin me down for anything?
Yeah, man. You gotta like make it happen.
I know.
Luckily, I'm so committed to getting you on the program because like you're a Spartan racer and I like wrestlers, so I got you on the show.
I'm the worst. I am.
How did you get on Jurassic World? Did that film some there?
It did. Yeah, we have an old Six Flags park that's no longer running. So they use that to film the entire thing. They built out the entire world.
So it was all filmed there?
I think so.
All right. So remind me, which is Jurassic World, the first one of the new ones? I got to remember.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the plot of that one? Because it's not the one where like they're going to escape, right? Like the evil guy is building the expensive one. I just watched that one again. I think that's part 2.
I don't think that's the first one.
Okay.
Because the first one I think was more based on like the original. It was like the park and the whole thing, and then the dinosaurs escape again.
All right, and so if you watch it, are there a bunch of scenes where you can go, "Oh, I can tell that's me"?
No, because that one was crazy. Like I think we had 400 extras that day. Yeah, so it was a ton of people. So it was sort of like a lot of times they'll have like even stunts. Like not all of the jobs are like. I mean, some of them they're like, okay, well, we have an actor who's going through people, and instead of like instead of them running into like extras, right? Because obviously you don't want them to fall and get hurt. They'll put stunt people around. So I think I did that. I think I fell down a set of stairs. There was one part where there's like a velociraptor coming in, and so like
you can't see yourself. So you can't see yourself.
I haven't watched it, but I would imagine no, I couldn't see myself.
So you work on this massive production Hollywood movie. It comes out. You're like, I don't want to watch it.
Well, you make it sound really bad, man. Come on. No, yeah, some I don't see. I think that by the time it comes out, right, so much time has passed since you did it, that unless it's something that you did like a stunt that I'm like really proud of, or you know, then maybe I'll go back and be like, I want to see how it edited together. I want to see if it came out well.
No, listen, if you're a working person, I don't expect you to watch everything you're on, but I would think that was a huge one, and they spent however, you know, a year and a half in your town. You'd want to fucking see it. That's it.
Yeah, I will. You know, it would make sense, wouldn't it? I don't know. I didn't, and I really liked the first one too. So I just didn't get around to it. But I will say, at that time, my daughter was super young. So, I mean, I've also like this whole time of like doing stunts, like I've been in like mom mode, right? Like my oldest is 6. So I've been doing this for, I don't know, 8 years, right? So most of my time of doing stunts, I've been like going through like the little ages of kids. You don't have a whole lot of time to do anything.
Oh, I understand. My youngest is 6, and he's a handful, as are pretty much all my children. But no, I understand. So your workouts, you're just working out in the gym. You're not running at all.
No, I'm running for sure.
Okay.
So currently I am doing the Savage Anywhere challenge.
I saw that you posted about that. I was going to actually, because I just interviewed them, I was going to say, hey, you guys should reach out to her. And like, they're doing a thing where having people design workouts. Like, you could design a workout. I
saw that. They have other people. I would be terrified to design a workout. Are you kidding me? I like to be told what to do and not actually be like, I am not a boss.
I know, but it's kind of a fun, cool thing. Like, hey, former WWE, she's been in movies. She's going to design this cool workout. Just don't do it in a Spartan shirt.
Yeah, right.
Just put on your Savage Anywhere tank.
Yeah, right. No, I did. I think I'm on 6 today. So that's the other thing is I am, you know, I think when you're not being paid to be brand loyal to like one specific person, I am very open to all races and all.
Yeah, well, why not?
Right. Like I love them all. I truly do. I will say Spartan is those are like my tops, right? Like those are like, I plan out, when I plan out my race year, I go through Spartan first. And I'm like, okay.
Well, nobody comes to your town.
No, I have to travel for everything.
Right. There was a Mississippi Spartan for years, but now that's gone, right? So you've come here, right? You've come to Georgia, right?
Yeah. Florida, Asheville, California. I did Passaic. Alabama.
Dude, this is prime.
I'm looking at my medal thing right now because I'm like, where else have I gone?
This is prime. So typically from middle of March till end of May, there was an obstacle race every weekend in Georgia. Savage would have been last weekend, Spring Savage. Spring Georgia, Spring Spartan would have been Saturday. And then all these local mom and pops that I support a lot, that I love. I just gotten messages.
The locals are so much fun. Like the local races are so much fun.
Right. But you guys have, what do you guys have? Battle something?
We have Battle, and I actually did not do Battle this year.
Because?
My daughter's birthday was the same day, her birthday party.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm really bummed because that would have been my second race of the year, and I couldn't do it. And then, of course, now, when are we going to race? I went to Austin in February, I think, for Bone Frog.
Bone Frog.
I'd never done one, so it was my first.
Did you like it?
I liked it. I did the tier 1, which, right, it's like the challenge and the sprint or whatever.
The 9-mile one, yeah.
Yeah. I think the only thing I personally like being in the woods better. And we were at a racetrack. So I need like the trails and the whole thing. So and I'm sure that I think they do some in trails and stuff as well. So I just need to be more conscious of that when I'm booking whatever race, to know that I personally, even though I usually bust my ass like 18 times on trails.
But that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Yeah. it's so much fun. Like I just love that. Like you're so focused on like looking ahead, and you're like, okay, don't bust my butt on that. Don't bust my butt on that. But you're like, holy fuck, I just ran a mile and I didn't even realize it. It's the best. But when you're like running and you can see the next 3 miles, I'm like, fuck my life. I hate this. Like, so I need stuff to distract me. I am not a runner.
You know, there's this amazing event called World's Toughest Mudder, and it's probably the first event I feel like we're going to even get, because it's at the end of the year. So you should come and do that. Have you ever been?
12-hour or the 24?
No, it's 24.
So
but here's the thing.
Relay?
Well, you can do it that way, right?
Or you just do it.
But honestly, I feel like you're going to feel worse. If you do the relay, when you stop, you're going to freeze. You got to keep moving. But what people like if you're going to bring your whole family, right? If you like to do that kind of thing, then do that. And people do that, and then their kids cheer them on during the day. Then the spouse takes them back to the hotel at night, or bring another family member to watch them, and your husband can crew you or whatever.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it's the best experience, whether you're a racer or a crew, or even if you're a volunteer. It's kind of, we're all in this little world together. Like whatever camaraderie I'm guessing you felt with like wrestlers, this is like 36 hours of that, because we're all there together. It's pretty awesome.
And they introduce different obstacles, right? And they're like only there for that, right?
Yeah, big obstacles, and they turn some on and off, and it's pretty awesome.
That's what I like. I mean, I think my very first Tough Mudder, I remember there was like, the one thing I will not do, I've done it once, is the electroshock stuff.
Right.
And like, I'm a P word when it comes to that. I'm not doing it. I did it once, like literally went face down in the mud, lost my contacts, and had to run the rest of the race with like blind. So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm done. I'm like, but other than that, but there was like, the Legionnaires challenges were different. And so like, you didn't have to go through electroshock. You could go do this and jump into an airbag. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome. And then of course, like they went through so many weird changes throughout the years from that.
Right. Well, I think they're back to normal now.
I'm so freaking bummed that all of that happened and transpired, right? And then now we can't even do it. Like I could not wait. I had the first Tough Mudder, there was one in Texas. The 21st, I think it was supposed to be, or somewhere in there. And then, I was like, I can't wait to see what it's like now that it's under Spartan and the whole thing. So
did you follow any of our amazing content during that part?
Duh, for sure. I was glued. Like it was like my soap opera. I was just like, ooh, what's happening? Like, I'm like, what? Okay, what's going on? What day are they going to court? Da, 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 da. Like, just could not wait. Because I don't want to see a world, right, where, like, I love Spartan. I love it. But I don't want to see a world where there's one race. Like, one race brand, right? Like, I love all the different races. They all have something very different to offer. Different obstacles, just a different feel. I'd hate to see a world where they didn't exist.
All right, cool. Let's do a screenshot for a photo.
Oh gosh.
All right. She's getting oh my God.
Listen, all right. Listen, I am the girl that runs with some makeup on, okay?
Are you like crazy? Like some of those girls show up and they clearly spent way too much. It's like, girl, you're about to be face down in mud. Like, what are you doing?
No, I probably spent about 15 minutes, put some eyebrows on, some waterproof mascara. You know, I don't really, like, nobody wants to see my pimples. Like, nobody wants to see that. Braid my hair, got to get a cute, you know, want to look decent in the pictures, but,
oh my God. All right, I'm going to do all right. So practiced at that, and then we'll do one of just you. All right, perfect. Let me take you off record. Hang on.